Go button, go. Yay, we're live. Look at that. It's been 2 weeks. Yay.
You sound like you're more positive this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm feeling a little better this week.
That's good.
I've been doing things and taking care of myself in a way that I needed to for a while. I made some decisions about my podcast. Why is this not showing me the live that I want to see? Come on, computer, so we can share live things. There it is. Yeah, I definitely have had to take some time away from things and start reorganizing things that I care about.
Yeah.
I love my podcast very much, but I have figured out that I need to switch it to seasons.
That's a fair thing, and I think you're at a point with your numbers where you can do something like that if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's good. It's kind of like off at the edge. There we go. Come back to me. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, and you're also at a point where you're probably pre-booking out guests, and it's like, okay, I'm going to take. Here's how many I'll do per season, and let's say 24. We'll do 24 or 48 per season, and we'll do all of that, get it all done in the course of like a month.
Yes.
And then
be done with it.
Yeah.
I'm muting all of the things that are going to ding at me for
dingity ding.
Ding. Honestly, like I think that's one of the things that I tend to be. I mean, Brandon, you know this about me, but I think because you and I have been interacting for 2 years now.
Yeah, well, we met on a podcasting forum.
And I'm an ambitious person. Like, I love to be doing lots of different kinds of things.
Yeah.
But when there's a global pandemic, I'm not super interested in being all that ambitious.
I struggled with that myself. I think that a lot of people are struggling with motivation. I don't know about ambition, but really just staying motivated. And I think creatives and people who are entrepreneurs like yourself who run your own business struggle with that tremendously.
Yes. And I think ambition is where my motivation, I can feel it the most.
Yeah.
And I don't have it right now. By 3:00 in the afternoon, I want to go to bed. And that doesn't work because I see clients until 5.
Yep.
And all I have space for is the stuff I'm hearing from my clients, which can be, that's what I'm here for, right? Like, that's what I've trained to do. That's what I love.
Yeah.
And I'm here to be a helper. Like, that's what I'm put on this planet for. And we just got all of our dissertation requirements. And so I know that that's going to take up a whole shit ton of my time.
Yep.
And so the podcast is going to go to seasons because I can't do 52 episodes a year.
No, and if you're constantly producing as you're putting out instead of just banking them, as we say, then you can't really change the format or move with your audience. But if you bank everything up, you can pay more attention to how the audience is responding to things and maybe move stuff around.
Exactly. And spend more time with each episode too.
Yeah.
I was definitely able to manage it better in the earlier part of the year before Corona. I had started, I'd actually started whittling down my caseload because some of my wonderful clients out there had started doing better and started graduating from therapy. And then...
Wait, you can graduate from therapy?
Yes, you can.
I don't know many therapists that allow their clients to graduate. Do they get a ceremony?
I don't want to be people's therapist forever. I don't.
Do you get a ceremony?
I kind of do it's like a wrap-up session. So for those of you who've never like seen the end of therapy. It's like a full session of like where we've been, how did we get there, and then like who you are now, and then how you take that into your life without me.
I'm pretty sure most of my friends in New York who have therapists, and that's pretty much, I mean, none of the guys I know in New York have therapists, but all of the women I know in New York have therapists. Many of them have spoken about me to their therapists. I've apparently come up in meetings.
See, and then you had to be on a show with a therapist.
Yeah, I mean, I
hear you.
I don't think any of them have ever graduated. I don't think.
But that's the thing. But this is, everybody's a little different in their belief around this. But I don't believe you're meant to be in therapy forever. I think there are people who need a longer term care because of the shit that they've seen in their lives. Absolutely need to be in longer term care. But my hope is that eventually they don't need me.
Yeah.
Hi, Susan. Speaking of one of my former wonderful friends, not a former friend, but a former colleague.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, I had the wrong tab on.
Well, and Brandon's here. Brandon Maxwell is here.
Oh, rock on.
So we're gonna what are we talking to Brandon about? We're gonna be talking about anxiety. Correct?
Male performance. Brandon Maxwell is the creator of the Maxwell multiple.
Oh.
Because apparently guys are capable of having multiple orgasms as well.
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited.
And the same training he uses for people who deal with premature ejaculation.
Yes.
So it's really interesting.
Be ready.
Like we should really have him on with your friend who does pelvic floor.
Yes.
That would be really fun.
We could do pelvic floor and
it's the same thing. I mean, I'm sure it's like the same stuff.
I mean, very similar, but premature ejaculation is unique in its in how often people get to a place where they're dealing with premature ejaculation.
Yeah.
Many of the folks that I've worked with, also the definition around premature ejaculation is ridiculous. We could talk a little bit about that. But a lot of the people that I've worked with in the past, not all, there's lots of reasons for premature ejaculation, but they essentially like had to train themselves to orgasm quickly because for whatever reason, they were concerned about being caught or what have you. So not everybody's that way. And we can definitely work on that. So
let's see if we can bring him in.
Let's see here. Your guests will need to connect their mic and cam before you add them to the stream.
Yeah.
Wow.
Technology.
Yay, technology. I saw him there just a minute ago because y'all can't see on the back end. We get to play with fun things on. We use this fun little platform called StreamYard, and I saw Brandon there a second ago. But yay, tech. Yay, tech. I'm glad we're doing this show before the hurricane comes. Well,
there's a hurricane hitting Miami. And
more than likely we'll all, I mean, Florida's a narrow state. We're probably all going to get something. I've been following this dude on TikTok who it just gives me life. He's like, he plays a hurricane and then he plays Floridians and how Floridians versus other states react to hurricane season. It's amazing. It's very funny. Floridians don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I mean, I went streaking when I was in college in a hurricane. That was...
I mean, I feel like I need to hear this whole story.
Well, okay. So what happened was my roommate and I had realized that there were no male entertainers at my college. And I was thinking, with all...
like no male entertainers at all.
Not close to our college. The closest was in Raleigh. We were in Greenville, North Carolina. So it was like an hour and a half long drive to bring someone in. And I was like, well, there are so many sororities. So why don't we buy some thongs?
I mean, this is pre OnlyFans or just for fans or whatever. I mean, why the fuck not?
So
make your money.
And then one of his friends found out, and we did their we did their bachelorette party. And we made 2 months rent on the bachelorette party.
That's amazing.
We should have I mean, we didn't keep doing it. I don't know why we didn't keep doing it, but it was it was
the
quite
smartest thing I've heard all day.
Yeah, so we had these thongs around and it became hurricane season, and I was like bored because we'd been locked inside for 12 hours. And so we just drove over to campus and started streaking through theater people's dorms and stuff.
Love it.
Yeah. So funny. Oh my gosh. Okay.
You and I can hear each other just fine, but apparently Susan can't hear us. But I don't know if anybody else out there can hear us or if we're having audio problems.
No, we're not having audio problems. I just pushed the audio button on the Facebook stream and it's coming through.
Oh, okay. Yay. So Susan, check your phone, restart your phone, and come back to us.
Or, might be your headset is not sat properly, or it could be that your speakers aren't plugged in or turned on, or
that silent button's still on.
But if you're watching on Facebook, they might be closed captioning us. So they auto close caption live streams, which is really cool. I think it's really cool. I keep looking down. I want to. There we go. Kind of weird angle on my face. That's better.
Center yourself.
Yeah, center myself. Center yourself, Brandon. So we seem to be having tech problems getting Brandon in. That's disappointing. Yeah, he's also a really talented filmmaker friend of mine. He looked at my script for Grindr before I made that film and helped a lot with that. It's a cool guy. But yeah, so I was dealing with the same kind of stress issues that you're explaining, where you were feeling tired midway in the afternoon, pretty much up until last month.
Yeah.
And a combination of really heavy aerobic exercise, like biking 12 to 18 miles.
Yeah.
And leaving town.
Yeah. We haven't done that yet. That's something we're going to probably do in September, because we had to make some decisions for us. I mean, we're here in Florida. We had to make decisions about our kids for school.
Yeah.
We had to make some tough calls for our family. And so I think that was just ratcheting up my experience of stress. I run every day. Now I've just been plugging in more miles. I'm like, okay, we're going to run a little longer, a little harder.
Yep.
And I've been adding more meditation. I added some supplements for the level of stress that I'm dealing with. One has L-theanine in it, which is really good for anxiety, for those of you who struggle with that.
Are you
that's
doing
been really helpful.
Melatonin? Sleep?
Melatonin at night. Yep. Yeah. Making sure that I'm getting enough sleep. That's the thing for me, is I usually need more.
Yeah.
So getting my ass to bed on time.
Yeah, this whole thing has taken me from like an average 6 hours a night of sleep without a problem to you're getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah. You must. Like your body's like, nope, you do not have to, you do not do any of this. You're going to go to bed. That's what you're going to do. That's kind of what my body's done to me. But, I have to take my own advice, right? Like I tell my clients all the time, like, is a pandemic enough?
Yeah.
For you to not be doing well?
I mean, it's really, I had hangover headaches terribly.
Right.
In the afternoon, I'd need to take a nap for 2-3 hours, 3-hour nap in the afternoon, which is ridiculous. And so the aerobic exercise mixed with getting out of town and in the process deleting social media apps.
Do it, y'all.
And
we love that you are all listening to us all on the social medias, but only take in what you need. I took it all off my phone. I only interact with it on my computer when I have to. I took the news off of my phone.
Yeah.
I just can't be bombarded by it. I need to have a chunk, and then it needs to be done. All done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got it on my computer still, but I took it off my phone.
Yes.
And I turned off notifications on my phone.
Smart.
So now I'm not getting all these little stressors that are like beep beep beep. By the way, beep beep beep, beep beep beep. Yeah.
Yep.
None of these things are making me money, so no, I don't need to be notified by it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's actually a really good way to think about it. Like,
yeah,
does this contribute to my mental health? Does this contribute to my pocketbook?
Nope.
Does this contribute to my life? No. All right, you're out.
Yep.
Get back.
I think it's going to be a lot of people thinking about that. I mean, the economic numbers that have been coming out are like,
people are hurting.
It's a disaster. Oh, is he back?
I'm gonna pull him in. Pull him in,
quick.
Brandon.
Brandon.
Hi. Yes. This steampunk, I'm calling it SteamYard, wouldn't kept muting my phone. So sorry about that. But you know, this is our first time trying this. Thank you. It was easy to get in once I got onto the laptop, but it wasn't available till now. So such is life in a cohabitable circumstance.
We understand. I'm really tickled. I get 2 Brandons tonight.
I am the oldest Brandon you will ever meet. Everybody, when I grew up, everybody used to call me Brandon because nobody knew what Brandon was. This is in the days before Beverly Hills 90210. And that's the one that made Brandon a big, Brandon Walsh, There
were 45 Brandons after that.
Every girl who had a baby after that and got married, they just, Brandon, what a beautiful name.
Yes, I was on 90210. Yes, I was.
I do know, but back then I remember seeing a rash of babies named Brandon. It was all over the place, and I just went, "Okay, this is it. I'm going to be the oldest Brandon ever."
You both are rocking it. That's all.
Oh man.
So my Brandon, the dude. Do you want to introduce Brandon Maxwell now that Brandon?
So this is Brandon Maxwell off to my. Yeah, screen right, my left. And we met many years ago. He's a filmmaker, very talented filmmaker. Had a film at the time called Maxwell Multiple. And then it's been since renamed Fire When Ready because the same method that could be used for men receiving multiple orgasms can also be used to fire when ready.
Yeah, as it turned out, and because nobody had done anything like that, what I was doing at the time, as it turned out, telling men that they could achieve multiple orgasms was like saying, here is a device that you can use to tie your shoes without using your fingers. And men were like, yeah, but why would I do that? I can already do that, with my fingers. So why? So, which actually kind of made some sense. But what we found out, and I think I'm a better filmmaker than I'm a marketer. What I found out was that men really who use this method, though, the most successful ones were premature ejaculators.
Interesting.
And it worked extremely well. If you were a hard to come type of man, no way, it didn't work that well. But the amazing thing about most of the guys this was targeted to, and women, by the way, this film was targeted to, was about really, reaching most guys, and most guys in their 20s are premature. I mean, the proportion that are hard to come type is very low. Not that they don't exist, right? But
the definition of premature ejaculation is so narrow. It's super, super narrow. It's within a very, very few seconds. You have to be ejaculating within, I think, less than 3 seconds or something crazy like that. And it's a very narrow definition. Very, very narrow.
That's a really interesting point you're bringing up. I mean, that's a fantastic point because do you know why they made it so narrow?
to create barriers to treatment, but I'm biased. I'm a therapist. I'm always pissed about the barriers to treatment.
Well, I mean, I don't know this for a fact. This is my theory, having dealt with your world and the movie world and did all of that stuff. I believe it was made that narrow so that less men would believe and think themselves as having that problem. And it's the same reason why the American Psychiatric Institute didn't, it's the Institute, ACA, I think APA, wanted to recall narcissism, take it away from being a problem and into just a standard condition, right? Because so many people are exhibiting narcissistic traits these days that, oh, wait, we don't want to call this a problem anymore. Let's just call it a condition. Right. One personality type. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I hope you don't mind my saying this, because I'm so sorry I'm back on so late. But the thing about the condition of premature ejaculation is that it causes. There are two major aspects to it. There's the physical aspect that causes it, which it originates. But the really difficult thing for treatment is getting past, and you as a therapist know this so well, exactly. That's the brain, one.
The biggest sex organ.
Yes. So it's a double defect. It's so difficult. And this is what I experienced. My first time having intercourse, and nobody told me this. I was, here I was in the back of a 67 Chevy with my girlfriend at sunset in my teens, expecting this, this unbelievable.
Very picturesque, though.
It was in a field in Connecticut next to a lake. I mean, come on.
The teen movie you want to see, right?
Exactly. I mean, we were totally set up to get, read, yeah. But and that's
on the car door.
I say that because in a way, that's kind of what happened to me. I just, it started. I felt that amazing feeling that, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this feeling of being immersed inside of another person. And it was all so much. And then boom, it was like, I actually didn't quite, it was like it started to happen. I ejaculated. And of course I was wearing a condom, but that didn't help me at all. At all in terms of, So, and then after that, I felt for the next 2 weeks, all I felt was shame. In fact, I have a total apology I made years later at a high school reunion to the girl I was with, because I was so mortified with shame that I broke up with her.
But this part is incredibly important that you're talking about. I can't tell you how many the penis owners I've worked with through premature ejaculation is this fundamental shame about themselves, this experience, and then they've tied very closely this experience of intense pleasure and then intense shame.
Suddenly, yes, and it actually, it really, I could not, have sex. I didn't even attempt to have it for the next 2 years until I went to college, and it took taking, and even then I exhibited what every guy who has experienced this must experience the same thing. I've talked to thousands, literally thousands of men about this by now. And they all experience the same thing. They have no idea what to do with this. They have no place to go because it's not discussed at all. And it's only discussed in terms of pills. As if, you need to take a pill to solve this.
Gels.
Right,
desensitizing gels,
or the desensitizing gels, which don't work at all.
Well, and they'll tell you to think about your grandma.
Yeah. Oh my. Yes.
Or something terrible in your head. So then you're coupling pleasure with something terrible in your head.
Yeah. But the truth be told, if you don't know any better, that actually is the best thing you can do to stop the problem. Now,
it's the only treatment plan that you've got available to you when you don't know anything about this.
Just think about grandma. Think about grandma. That you can be a therapist 20 years later trying to figure out why you associate sex with your grandmother.
That's right.
You only want grandmother porn.
Why do I only like,
Oh.
grandmother porn? I don't know.
Yeah.
Help me, doctor.
Oh,
So-
that's in the DSM.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
But Erica's
CPAPs.
absolutely.
I always need my CPAP to have sex.
Yeah.
God.
Probably get really good blood flow though.
So,
Wow.
so that's the problem. The shame really is the more difficult thing to get over. And so, but here's what's fascinating. When I've treated men, and one reason I made the film the way I did, we could talk about that later, but I really just want to talk about the treatment. And any man listening to this, or his girlfriend, or boyfriend, I'm so old world, or his girlfriend, anybody.
All of you penis havers.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody who likes dick,
Yeah.
or has one, and has experienced this problem, there really is a major solution, and it hasn't gotten out there, and because, well, there are many reasons, but mainly because the culture has shame in and of itself. The movie world, when I made this film about this, the entire idea was to make a high quality production. I shot it on film using Vision 2 Kodak color film, beautiful graininess to it. I had a crew of 30 people. I had 24 actors in the piece. And all of it was, at the time, this was 10 years ago, all of it was remastered on HD. And so which involves major stuff. Now, all that stuff, all that production value going into it, 30 locations, all of these things that I did were designed actually to make this mainstream, to make it, actually, in the script, I spent a year writing a 30-page script to make it funny, to make it's very serious instruction with funny visuals on top of it, so that guys are entertained away from their shame and their embarrassment.
Yes.
Right?
Distraction, but look over here.
Yes. Because at the time, the best-selling sex series at the time, I don't know what it is today, I don't think they're even doing them anymore, was the Better Sex series, which featured couples, real-life couples, on their floor having sex. Yes. on a comforter on the floor, which kind of made you feel like, did
I walk in? Like, how did we get here?
Mom, Dad, Grandma?
It was wrong. And it was embarrassing to watch. And so it's that the reason I did that was the mental place is important. But look, that's not going to help anybody who's listening to this. Okay, enough about that. Now, how do you do it? How does it work? How do you stop this? And the way to stop this is actually, first, to realize that the actual physical response of ejaculation happens a couple of seconds after you're going to come. So and it varies. That window is very short, but it varies. And you have a lead up, like a graph. It's a lead up to it. It's about to hit. Then it does, and then boom, and then boom, you go down again. So, right? And so, but most men don't realize. They don't think about it. There's no one there to help them analyze it and see it. They think that it's absolutely uncontrollable, like it sneaks up on them so fast, there's nothing they can do about it. But there is.
And culture helps them with that, right? Like that entire idea around like penis haver sexuality, right? Like the entire what is that men they can't help themselves. Like that entire cultural idea reinforces this, and then reinforces shame around this.
You keep saying, of course, you're a good therapist. No big surprise, but you're absolutely right. That's exactly right. And this is mirrored in so many interviews. I had an interview with 100 men before actually making this, trying the technique out with them before making the film. And I've talked to hundreds, almost 1,000 since. So even though this part of my life has tapered off a bit, I'm doing other things now. But the point is that first men have to realize that there's hope in that window, in that 2 to 3 second window. And so the first part of what I train men to do is to see that, just to see it, not to do anything about it, and then to track when they are having sex. And especially I tell them to do it first, just while they're watching porn, right? Or masturbation is the best way to do it, to be aware of this. If you try to do it during there's too many distractions during actual intercourse. So that's the first thing. And then what I teach them is how to actually the second step is elongating. Once they see that, is elongating that 1 to 3 seconds to 4 to 5, and making men more aware of how that works in the meantime. And you're going to get this, Doc, right away, because the biggest problem with a lot of guys is that they believe that once they start going down that road, and it has to do with what you said before, there's no going back. That's it. And that's not true, actually. There's a way to actually experience, this is where the multiples come in, incredible high, great sense of sexual excitement without ejaculating. Now, you have to at first have a discipline. This is the only part where discipline does come in, and it does. Sorry, people. If you want to learn to change your physical and emotional self, there is an element of discipline involved.
Practice.
And so, but that is, frankly, in the therapy sessions that I have had with men in person, and we go through this, and they say to me, Brandon, it does not working for me. And I go, okay, let's try this other thing. And I've got, several different ways to approach men and tell them how to do this. And there isn't any one man, just like women's orgasms, by the way, are so varied. And their orgasmic responses can change from one day, forget one woman to the next, from one day to the next. It can change. And from one moment to the next. So men we think that it's just so automatic. Just, it's like firing a gun, a bullet comes out the same way every time, and you're dead. No, wait, I'm dead. So, but it's not that way. It's not that way at all. There's so many and when you begin to expand that moment from 1 to 3 seconds to 5 to 10 seconds, men begin to see subtleties in their arousal. And the best of them really use this discipline and realize, wait a minute, this actually feels better than uncontrollably ejaculating. And let me tell you, the most beautiful moment in therapy, I'm telling you, is when men have come back to me and just sat down or called me or texted me or written me and just, I can't believe it. I didn't think it would work. I didn't know. But this, I didn't know. They're just amazed that. And once that little turn is made, once they realize, and this is getting back to the emotional, this head aspect that you were talking about, Erika, once they get past that mental barrier and they realize, wait a minute, this guy's not just conning me. He's not just some filmmaker who's pretending to be some kind of sex expert.
Exactly.
That it really does happen and it does work. And then it literally is like, it's amazing. Not every man, but most guys from that moment on, they take off like a rocket with this thing. And in fact, they experience so much more orgasmic diversity. And I will tell you one thing, and I'm kind of filibustering here. I'm going to let you guys ask me questions and go forward. So I'm going to shut up about this. I just want to get this out for your audience. But I discovered this first. I'm going to tell you, it's kind of a funny anecdote. I told you that after having that one horrific sex experience, I didn't have sex for 2 years. So then I went away and went off to college. And I was actually placed in a living with my girlfriend. I was placed in a circumstance where within 3 weeks of entering college, the only way everybody in the community could live in these on-campus apartments at UC Santa Cruz, the only way that they could everyone could live where they wanted and with whom they wanted is if I lived with my girlfriend. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So here I was now suddenly faced because at first I'm like, hey, let's take it slow, honey.
Now we're gonna live together.
Because I really don't want to experience this again. I don't want to know how bad I am. So what I did was, but that experience did teach me one very important lesson. And this is something men need to realize too. They are so obsessed with what their penises can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And when that ain't the key, that ain't the orgasm. That is the organ that gives most women an orgasm. Sorry, guys.
Right?
Right? You'd like to believe it so, but no, it's in your mouth.
That's what it is. And the clitoris. That's the clitoris. This is what it is.
That's it. That's now. There are men, but women, of course, that are vaginally orgasmic, and there's all sorts of beliefs. I don't know where this has gone in the last, but I don't know, Erika, you could tell me whether this evolution has come. There are some doctors who theorize that there are nerve endings that are connecting between the top wall of the vagina and the clitoris, and that some women have more extensive nerve paths there and more sensitive ones.
Yep. Let her pull her clitoris out again. This is her clit.
Please go ahead.
You see all those little that's the nerve endings.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So that's if you see it in 3D.
Exactly. But honestly, not every clitoris is the same, right? Like, and what you're describing is that and some people's are more sensitive than others. Some of them are less sensitive, and some of them have other branches that might be into like the vaginal canal that we're still trying to understand. Which just that's its own soapbox for another day.
Yeah, no, I love that soapbox actually because it's a great one. Because here's the other thing, and I have a whole section in the movie. Wasn't just the movie. I had a section which Erika, you should see it sometime. And Brandon will help me get this out again. It was called Foreplay 101. Ooh. It was a 5-minute. It was a 5-minute section. It took place on a huge queen size white bed with brass headboard that we literally like the monkeys rolled out into the forest in the highlands of California, and we had this great sex scene in this forest on a bed with white sheets and brass. It was hilarious, and the girl and the guy it featured this guy trying really hard. He's having sex, and then the girl kind of like turns around and looks at the camera, and she's like, "Yeah, this isn't so great." I have the girl actually then getting up, and the guy's all frustrated, etc. And she starts talking to camera during sex, and of course he goes silent, and it's funny, it's humorous, it's designed to be humorous. But what she of course is saying is, this guy just pumping away at me ain't fun. He thinks, and I don't want to ruin his good time, but. And then he kind of comes in. He's like, "Well, I'm not really having that great a time anyway." So it's all about
lots of silence, and then no one is having a good time.
Yeah. So, but what it really, and it's a message that I actually have throughout the film. I mean, whereas sex is not just about intercourse. It's not about a penis. It's not about a vagina. It's really all this other bigger stuff. And so one reason I think it's a great message to tell men is, hey, in the meantime of you're dealing with your premature ejaculation, you can discover what I discovered, which was when my girlfriend, getting to the point after my long-winded buildup, when I actually got to having intercourse with my girlfriend, and I, of course, miserably failed, she said, "I really don't care, Brandon. I tell you the truth. You already did. You do the thing that gets me off really well, and I got pretty good at
doing the thing that
right?
cunnilinguism.
Because what else did I had to get good at? Because I wanted to give her pleasure in order to cover up the fact that I wasn't going to be able to give her pleasure with my penis.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized only later, I began to realize then I had the cart before the horse. I was all obsessed with what my penis was doing, when really she really didn't care. She was like, you can be as fast or as slow. I like the feeling of it, but I don't need it for my sexual satisfaction.
Yes, preach. Oh my gosh, all day. And there are many penis owners who get really upset about the idea that their penis is not the thing that is giving the most pleasure. But that's part of that is the inflexibility of our definitions around sex as a culture overall.
Oh my God. I can tell you something. In this movie, I did not have, there's plenty, and I use animations instead, and I use symbolism, like bubbling over, beakers and in a science lab, and explosions and volcanoes and trains going into tunnels all over the place.
Women shooting up watermelons with an AK-47.
Yes, actually, no, with a Sten gun, but very close.
Yeah.
It's an automatic rifle. I am originally British, and I have used the Sten gun because, frankly, it's my favorite submachine gun in the world. It's very British, and it's for many reasons, but that's another story. But my point is, and that, thank you, but you remembered that. It's so great. It's one of my favorite scenes. So I did not have any full frontal nudity in this. You never saw a penis, you never saw a vagina. And yet even people I know in my life would say, people who met people, oh, aren't you the guy that made that sex ed porno? And I'm like, yeah.
What is it with people about that?
It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Okay, I'm that guy that made that.
If that's porno to you, you should see the.
Yeah, but
no, you shouldn't.
Yeah, but the point is that what we all understand, anybody who's worked in the business of educating anybody or the media, anything in the media that involves sex, is that we are such a shamed society. We are so shamed for our natural sexuality that. In fact, as a filmmaker, my film, even though shot on film, fully edited, the whole 9 yards, I wasn't taken seriously as a filmmaker when I went up for filmmaker. Oh, you're just that sex ed. But, some people, though, did get it. Some people saw this and said, holy crap, this is a masterstroke. Nobody's ever done anything like this. This is a whole new way to use the medium of film. You're actually educating in a way, and so wonderful that some fellow filmmakers got it, and some of those people, like Brandon, are friends of mine to this day. And so,
well, it was ahead of its time, and the problem with this was approximately, I want to get my years right, it was about approximately 2008.
Yeah,
approximately, give or take. Yeah, 2009. This is before Amazon. This is before you could actually take something that's 30 minutes, put it on Amazon as a TV pilot, and actually monetize it. Nowadays, we'd be just like, oh, yeah, sure. Let's distribute that on Amazon. Let's get it out there. And you'd have income coming in off of something like this.
Yeah.
It was just before its time.
Well, I am intending, Brandon has helped me to actually edit parts of the film and get it ready to release as Fire When Ready. I got distracted by a couple of Hollywood film projects. They sucked me back in. And
Hollywood always has a way of sucking you back in, then making you disappointed.
I couldn't actually. And so I got distracted, and also I frankly kind of got my heart broken a little bit by what happened with it, because I put so much time and energy into it. But look, but that's all right. What we're talking about is that to this day, I bet if I go to Amazon with this or Netflix, they're going to go, and
but you don't have to go direct to Amazon. You can put this up directly without talking to them. it can get numbers that it's going to get. And then once it's got the numbers, they'll just come to you and say, hey, let's make more episodes. That's just kind of like,
from your mouth to God's ear.
They don't buy outside of their system unless they see something taking off.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't approach them anymore.
It's the way everything is, and that's absolutely true. And I am gonna ask for your help to finish. Yeah. It's up to me. What I need to do and what I haven't done is to do I've got to do a whole series of talks about it and discussions and get kind of a vlog or a blog going about it. And I'm just too lazy. I'm working on too many other things. So anyway, enough of that. Back to topic.
Oh, but hey, it's reality though, right? Like when we're talking about the entire culture of what people are, when they're going to try to access information, ultimately some of the barriers are not just cultural beliefs, but also like access due to somebody's
corporate ownership of media,
monetization, which is BS. But okay.
And people, and so women too. What do you think, Erika? I mean, question for you. We're entering a whole new age of where sexuality is a very big, not sex, but sexuality.
Yes,
is a huge topic. It's affecting the entertainment business, as Brandon and I discussed the other day between ourselves, in a really strong and almost ridiculous way. Mm-hmm. And so everybody wants in on this new trend of sexuality and being able to discuss that. But still, as I see it, the culture is still incredibly repressed when it comes to sex. Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating because we really are. I mean, everyone knows this. It's, we would, the culture allows us to see far more violence. You can see the inside of somebody's guts, but you can't see the outside of someone's vagina.
Mm-hmm. Or a nipple on somebody who has a vulva.
Yeah.
And you're completely right here, right? Like there is the ability to sexualize things, but with no explanation, no context, and no reality.
Yes.
It's performance based. It's not at all based in what is real. There are people who are doing more projects that are getting much closer to what we're in need of, like Tristan Taormino, and there are just wonderful people out here doing more and more education. But there's so much education to be done that
there should be major media, education sources available, and a film like what I did, where somebody actually, really made a high quality thing that actually people reviewed, as a film, not as, and I got some incredible reviews. People were like, it's like Pink Panther meets a sex education film. I remember that was one of my favorite reviews on BuzzFeed. It's like, yes, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Yes, that's it. It's got guns and girls and, but it's all symbolism and it's all fun and it's all designed to just take you along on a nice ride, all while with no BS instruction. So let's get back to the instruction for a sec, because when I was just saying that place where men have to, there's a way that women involved with men can also very much help a man to get over, even with beyond my instruction, etc., to get over this problem. And that is that if it happens, if you're listening to this and you're a man, another man, and this happens to somebody you're with, you really, it's better. It's not, the first instinct is to not say anything about it and let them be embarrassed by it. But it is okay to say something about it and to say, look, hey, this, one of the best things you can ever tell a guy, if this happens to him, and this can happen to guys in their 30s and 40s, especially the first time you have intimacy with somebody. It still did happen to me well into my 40s, and it's okay to say, hey, that was fine for me. This isn't a bad thing. This happens. This is the first time we're having this. We're just getting used to each other's bodies. Why don't we just slow down and sit down and have a beer together in bed? Something like that. The idea is, don't make a big thing about it. Just say, hey, this is okay for me. I've seen this happen before, and one of my favorite things, which was actually true, that if you're a guy and this happens to you, and you're in there and you go, what am I going to say about this? It's not bad for you to say it's something too, or either. And let me tell you what you can say. It's a beautiful thing. And any woman, and I won't say any woman, that's too general, but this is something that I have never heard a woman respond negatively to. That is, when it used to happen to me, I would say, yeah, I kind of tend this way. It'll get better. Don't worry. But my problem is you kind of excite me too much. I mean, you're really beautiful. I think your body is like just my kind. It turns me on so much that I'm sorry, I can't control myself. I will be able to. I'll get used to you in a little while. I have never heard a woman say, oh, that's a terrible reason.
I can't believe you enjoy my body so much. What am I going to do?
So there actually is, for guys, if this is happening to you, tell a woman that they excite you. And that's why this is happening, and that there's a solution to this. And a lot of guys, and there are several solutions that you can do. So let me talk to you about some of the side product problems that happen from premature ejaculation that nobody talks about.
I'm ready.
And this is the wacky irony. Okay, this is where fate just really F's you, man. Because here's what can happen, and I'm getting close to the camera because guys will hear this and see me say this, and they will know it, and that is, the double whammy is you get so nervous that your erection goes
Yes, usually these two things are together: premature ejaculation or a hard time getting an erection because of the fear of premature ejaculation.
So what ends up happening is that you not only end up ejaculating before you were even able to really get it going, but when you pull out, you're just this small noodle, and the woman sees it. They're like, and you think she sees it. You think she sees it and knows it, and it's just, look at poor Brandon. Brandon has to look away because it's so embarrassing, right?
Well, I mean, what I think is, if you are being responsible and wearing a condom and you've lost your erection, condoms are not meant to handle losing an erection. That condom is likely still inside of her with some stuff inside of it.
Yeah, that's right.
And someone needs morning after pill.
Yeah, this is a huge. Yeah, Brandon, you're just so absolutely right.
All right, just thinking about how my bank account's gonna get hit. That's all. I was.
Hey,
kids are expensive. Kids are expensive.
That's why Plan B needs to be available and for everyone. But also, like this, that when intercourse of any kind has stopped, whether it's whether you're with someone with a vulva or you're with somebody with an anus, like you're still, that person who's experiencing the loss of the erection is very concerned then about that other person seeing the loss of the erection.
Yes.
When in reality, most partners are not as focused on the size or how your penis looks during that interaction.
And this is the obsession that men have, you see, because men think that women are just as visual as they are, and also we are hyper aware of this at the time this is happening. And in many cases, women just aren't that aware. I mean, this is what I discovered with my girlfriend in college. She was like, don't really care as long as you keep making me come with your tongue. I'm really happy. You know?
I mean, you had told me you were on the debate team, but I.
But I've also seen this dynamic that we're talking about for men in particular.
Yeah.
Like I have seen this dynamic really, really damage a relationship, because sometimes what will happen is that they will take that shame that they have and externalize it to their partner and say like, oh, well, why can't I make you have a vaginal orgasm with my penis, and you as the person with the vulva or the anus are the one who's the problem.
Right. Well,
rather than owning like you might have something going on with you, or you might have shit from your past that's showing up.
Yeah. What a fascinating, humans are fascinating in their multiplicitous ability to project their problems onto other human beings, especially those closest to them.
Yes. I'm too afraid of this problem, so you have it.
That is
Yeah.
true.
It's classic. And talk about the onset narcissism that's happening in our culture in general. You know, I, by the way, think that what's going on, I don't mean to be political here at all, but what's going on with our president, and it's bringing up these mental health issues that are happening in our culture. I think that's a wonderful thing. Actually, that's a great silver lining that's happening. Anyway, let's get off politics. So this kind of shame, this kind of blaming that happens, it just becomes this cycle, and it only makes the anxiety. It makes, you know, is what makes you limp as a noodle, and it's a terrible thing to be and here's the irony, actually. Okay, the irony is, I have a theory. Now, this is not scientifically proven, but here's my theory, and this is behind very much. When I looked at all of the different ways women can have orgasms, what I kind of saw was that there's only so much orgasmic energy you have. Now, there are some amazing women that I was with who were just able to have multiple orgasms all day long, but it's very, very rare. I mean, usually after 1, 2, or 3 orgasms, a woman just is like, don't touch me down there at all. I'm done.
You can get very, 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 very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
Leave Priscilla alone.
Right.
She's angry right now.
But my point was, when I looked at all of the different ways that women had orgasms, and the different ways that the lead up could be 20 minutes or could be 20 seconds, I realized that what was happening was that it was like my sense of it was that women's orgasmic energy were far closer to one another, but it was a matter of how their energy or its sensation was spaced in time. So,
context matters.
Right? Exactly. So there are some women, and it's rare, very rare. They're the rarer women who could just like, boom. I mean, 20 minute or 2 of stimulation, and they're good to go. And it's like, wow, they're bucking, and it's squeezing your head between their thighs. It's a wide-ranging experience. But more often than not, women need a longer lead up. And one of the arts I tell men about cunnilingus, one of the really great arts is that at first your tongue is not in, it's like biking. Your tongue is in not the good enough shape when you first practice cunnilingus. There is no way your tongue can be strong enough to do the job it needs to do. You literally have to work it out.
Honey, we're going to need to practice.
Until
sorry.
it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, right?
Practice makes perfect.
All right. So,
schedule it in morning, afternoon.
So I was seeing an elongated most women having an elongated arousal, but so they would have more subtle arousal, but it was the stimulation was there, and it was happening, and it was happening over a longer period. And then when they would ejaculate, it wasn't the incredible bucking experience of the woman who was more male-like in her in her arousal response, more quick, and boom, she was right there, and but there was that same. So it was, my sense of it was that it was all kind of the same, but just same energy, but elongated in one case, and less, no less strong, just just happening over a longer period of time.
We call it responsive desire. There are people who have more spontaneous desire, and then there are people who have more responsive desire. So it takes them time to warm their bodies and their minds, and the entire context matters a whole lot for them. Dr. Emily Nagoski, her book, Come As You Are, roughly 78% of women are responsive in their desire. So what you're describing?
Yes, that was my sense of it. And talking to women about it, I mean, they just confirmed. If you watch any kind of a sex show or talk to sex educators, they like you who have talked to women about it, this is pretty well known. So my sense was, okay, how can we get men to elongate that sudden rise, that sudden boom, and elongate it into something that's actually more pleasurable because it's happening over a longer period of time, which involves in some ways redefining what an orgasm is for a man. That's the other thing. The orgasm, men think, and it's one of the things I have to get past in therapy, men think that the ejaculation is where the joy is.
Yeah,
but when
that's a goal, right? You're supposed to have this goal.
It's so male.
The minute that sex has a goal is the minute the sex sucks.
I am so guilty of that. I got to tell you, I am a very male. I'm a male. I'm not, I'm not an androgynous. I'm a male. I mean, but ironically, kind of sensitive enough to get some of this stuff because I really like people a lot. So, but getting past this, I've got a goal and I'm going to go meet it as fast as I can. Once men begin to get the secret here, get that just general idea that all they've got to do is that instead of pleasure in the goal, pleasure in the journey. Now that sounds a little too holistic, and it's not the way I put it to them in the movie, and it does. But in therapy, when I have more time to talk about it, I say, dude, just get into the journey. And there's a great way, by the way, to do this and in masturbation. And that is what I find is most men, they don't talk about this at all, but most men masturbate like this. Just
as quickly as they can.
It's a whole thing. And so if you're listening to this and watching this and you want to get an idea of what I'm talking about, first of all, watch porn. Now make it good porn that you like. Could be grandma porn. Could be
whatever you got. Whatever you really like.
It could be grandpa porn, but whatever turns you on. Look at Brandon. but now
his dreams.
What you want to do is just touch yourself a lot more slowly. Start getting used to, first of all, definitely a lot of guys ejaculate without any lubrication. You gotta
don't do that.
Get the towels out, get the paper towels out, get the lube, put the towel down, everything. Just try just simply taking your time. And if you begin to feel that, what we, of course, all doctors know is called the point of no return, when many men believe that just happens and that there's nothing, it's the same thing as ejaculation. But of course, Erika, that isn't, and Brandon, you both know that isn't at all the case. You really have warning, and you can see that lead up, but it takes the discipline to then decide to stop for a second.
Yes.
And just stop and let the high work through you and experience how quickly you can then start up again. But the way to start discovering what I'm talking about, and I want to make a caveat about this afterwards, because this is for particularly premature men. The arousal response, by the way, of a hard to come type, of which there are actually many, many successful, the irony is that many, many successful porn actors, males, are hard to come types. And they're the ones that are the most successful and long lasting in the business because they can do take after take after take after take after take. And, they usually what they use is Viagra to keep themselves erect. And they just can last and last and last. And
They've moved to injections now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they were using Caverject. Now there's a new one that they use. They don't use Caverject anymore. But yeah, they're mostly injecting directly into the member.
Wow, yeah. Brandon, that's scary. That's scary. So Viagra no longer the half Viagra.
A little bit, but so many of them moved through Viagra. Viagra doesn't work anymore for some.
Oh wow. Okay, because the body got too used to it, like any drug.
There's there's a lot of those medications for many people who have premature ejaculation or they're struggling with erectile dysfunction that those medications don't work with at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what you're getting into is talking about edging.
Yeah.
You're talking about edging.
Correct. And so edging is a big part of it, and there are many movies and things about edging that you can do, and edging for some men, just edging alone can help them discover this multi-orgasmic thing happening, and where they have their first full orgasm but without ejaculating. And after it, and the key to know that if you've had a non-ejaculatory multiple orgasm is the level of arousal afterwards. After you've ejaculated, for the most part, the level of male arousal drops like a stone. But when you have a non-ejaculatory orgasm, your arousal, your penis can sometimes react exactly the same way as if you've ejaculated. It gets softer, and but your arousal is there, and that's the most exciting thing about multiplying. And really, edging is, it gets into it, is that afterwards, the whole idea is that afterwards you're ready to go some more and some more and some more, and you can just keep having sex for a long time. So, and yes, but big guess that the gay community would, with edging, teach the heterosexual community about how to properly use their penis.
Yeah.
So many things they've taught us.
And so if you want to go online and you want to look at some of this stuff, and you don't mind looking at male pornography, Milking Coach. Milking Coach on Just for Fans. He's also on Twitter. He specializes in doing edging videos with guys. His bulls, he calls them, and he will do 2-3 hour long sessions with these guys.
Ooh,
yeah.
I want a nap.
Well, sometimes that's what it kind of can take. That's what it can take. Now, if you don't want to look at gay sex, go to climaxwell.com and buy my DVD for $20. I am going to make it downloadable soon. I'm sorry, I really will. It'll be available on firewhenready.org. Anyway,
Brandon, will you put that in the comments, my dear?
Yeah, I can put that on.
But
then that we'll make sure that all of that is still on the post, so then people can find it.
It's okay. It's okay too. I really have, like I've said, I've kind of dropped the ball. All I've got a bunch of DVDs left over, but I need to get this uploaded and on. I've actually had a site constructed, and it's all ready to go. I just
sakes. Maxwell is it's a Flash site, man. We got to get this fixed.
This is ancient stuff. It's all ancient. Brandon, I am going to need your help. I'm
we'll get it fixed.
And so, but okay, on to the. Let's talk for a second about the hard to come man.
Yeah,
because he is neglected too, and it's a difficult, embarrassing thing for him.
Yeah.
Because in the end, in its worst case, the hard to come man just never does. I mean, or it takes some extreme stimulation to get him to ejaculate.
My first time, never. We went for like 4 or 5 hours, and I never. And that is, I'm one of those.
I'm still curious why you don't have a Just for Fans.
Me? My parents are still alive.
I mean, fair. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'd
great.
like to have visitation rights with my nephews.
I mean,
Those are on the rocks enough as it is with my life. Before they were even born, my brother's like, you know, we're not going to discuss your lifestyle with your nephews until
shame.
they're
How
at
old-
least 18.
Stop the shame with
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah, stop the shame. That is so old world. It really is. It's so old
Right.
world for
It
him to
is.
say that. I mean,
Yeah.
so here's the point that there's just as almost there's really is as much shame in being unable to.
Why can't you come? Aren't I enough for you?
Yes.
Don't I do anything for you? It's like, yeah, you do quite a bit for me, honey, but
right, but so it's natural to for
Yeah.
somebody. I mean, if you're not able to do that, so it's natural for somebody to think there's something wrong with them for not turning you on enough, which is the opposite problem. That you can claim as a premature ejaculator. You're turning me on too much. I don't know what I. But and then the other problem is that then they don't feel as attractive and da da da. So so of course it kind of makes sense that a premature ejaculator never would be able to my movie is absolutely useless to them. It has nothing to do with them. My expertise in premature and all the things I've done really has nothing to do with the hard to come men. The one fortunate thing is that they aren't nearly as common. So the problem isn't as common. It's not a bad, it's a difficult, hard thing to deal with. But again, our culture men have to get less oriented towards the penis. I mean, it really, it's just, it's got to be, there's so many more important things. The biggest, they say it's the old stupid thing everyone says, but yeah, the biggest sexual organ in the body is the brain, and what you said, Erika, about context was so wonderful. I mean, inherent in what you were saying was, I have had some of the most intense sexual experiences that I've been lucky enough to be there for. With that women have experienced, it was that they trusted me. They later told me that, look, I know you, I trust you. Some women experienced, I don't mean to sound like, but their first orgasms with a man ever, only because of that trust, only because, and that's it. That context is so important, and men lose sight of this. That sex and all this other stuff we compartmentalize so quickly. We have as you said, we're so goal oriented.
They like to believe they compartmentalize.
Yes,
it's like they see their own feelings. I can't tell you how often the two things go together for so many of the men I've worked with. Is that they don't understand their own pleasure other than climax with a penis. Yeah. They don't understand how to slow down or what does it mean to slow down. They also often do not understand feelings other than stoicism, humor, and anger. That's about it.
I understand my feelings very well. I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, we are all, I mean, anybody, I think that is part of being a male. Not every male has this problem, of course, but I have experienced all that in my own life, And what
are the cultural expectations of the folks with penises in our world it's not fair, and it creates the failure between all of us as far as the expectations of those with penises and the expectations of those of us with vulvas. It's too much, and it ruins our sexual interactions.
Yeah. We're kind of thought to be sexual machines. Men do view themselves as sexual machines. They want or they aspire to be sexual machines. If you really look at what they're aspiring to, and by the way, the prevalence of modern porn ain't helping. There's some incredible sites out there like Real Women, Real Orgasms. That's a great site. I mean, that's my personal spank bait. But the point is,
like there's some great filmmakers now but didn't exist 10 years ago. Erika Lust's work is incredible. Incredible.
No, and
but
really
understanding the difference between porn as performance versus education absolutely is fundamentally necessary.
Yeah.
Because we have these expectations of ourselves based on what we've seen in porn without having any other really good education to supplement what we're seeing.
Yeah. And think about what a young man from probably first looking at porn when he's 12, 13 years old. It's hard for parents to hear that that's the case, but that's when it's happening, mom and dad. And what are they seeing? These, disembodied penises. Always hard. Always hard. They never have a problem. A. B. They're always huge.
Yes.
Not always.
And usually it's the camera angle.
Right. If they're not huge, usually the guy's belly is huge and he's the producer and that's why he's doing this. That's just the state of the business. And so what we're seeing is just and what it is just this pumping away. Oral sex. I mean, there's some really good videos which do have some great oral sex scenes, but it's kind of like this perfunctory kind of get her wet until I can ram it in. And there's nothing educational, by the way, very little educational that you're seeing in about cunnilingus. I actually have, if I were ever to make a movie, I actually have a 10-page treatise, and it takes 10 pages, by the way. I wrote on cunnilingus. And because of and really what cunnilingus is, that mostly if I were to put the lesson about cunnilingus that any man could learn is, guess what? There is no one size fits all.
That's right.
Most of what I am teaching in that little treatise I wrote, which I don't know if I'll ever do anything with, but I really, as a writer, I was fascinated by the challenge of it. Really, it all comes down to reading a woman's desire and wishes in the way her body moves while you're doing it. So most
asking some damn questions.
Right. But some guys, again, it's a tough one. Yes, asking questions is great. But some guys and some women too, they're still, we live in a repressed culture. So yes, you're absolutely right. But the body, there's no doubt, I can't say, you're right. But most people are too constrained to do that. Yes. They don't want to ask questions because that suggests they think that it means that they may not know what they want. What they're doing, when in fact it would actually mean the exact opposite to a woman if a man said, hey, is this working for you, or do you need a little faster? Because that's what's required in many cases.
Well, and what kind of freedom would it be for someone with a vulva to be able to say, oh, the right side of my vulva is more sensitive than my left?
Is that your right or my right?
A little bit more. And that's an excellent follow-up question, right? Like,
okay, honey. Okay, your right or my right?
All of us do have a sensitivity on more on one side or the other.
Closer to the mole or further away from? You don't have a mole down here? No, you have a mole down here. That's a mole.
Follow the arrow.
I think that's a mole.
No, what you're saying is actually so true. I mean, of course it's true because you're a woman and you're a doctor and you know all this stuff. But yeah, from my personal experience, there is a much more sensitive side. Yes. And just because a woman is sensitive there doesn't mean you should start attacking that area.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if you find that area, the best way to treat it is like you are you are a ninja sneak attacking
Mhm.
unexpectedly and then retreat one member of the opposition at a time, and then you slink back into the shadows. Let the tension build in the castle, and then
Yes.
sneak back in.
Honey, where did you go? I'm sneaking. I'm hiding behind your thigh. I'll be back in a minute.
And it's just so funny because I mean, there's such differences between women. So there's some women who just love this, like not knowing when it's going to come, and it comes for a little while, and then it's back. It's got, but and then others, it can't. It has to be around there on that side, but it's not a matter of leaving, but going much slower and softer. But the point is that most women will shift their hips and use their tongues and their voices, and with moaning or just sighing, that will tell you exactly what they want. Women are hard to figure out when you know what the signs are to look for. And that's kind of what took the 12 pages.
You're also suggesting someone to slow down and pay attention.
Yes. Actually become connected to what your partner's doing. But the point is that there are many guys who don't know how to interpret. It's like, they're autistic when they come to. They just don't know how to interpret the emotions. But like you say, if you're, in my opinion, if you're kind of half sensitive and half interested, it's not rocket science. Just,
Can that be a shirt somewhere? Like, seriously. If you're half sensitive and half interested.
I'm thinking this is some of the swag you need to start merchandising along with your pocket clitoris over there.
And so look, and there's another thing, by the way, that is so important. This goes somewhat back. I mean, one thing I've suggested to men when they get anxious, about sex. So that's a big thing. If you have a premature ejaculation problem, I can learn about edging, get my film. Great. I get my film because it's fun to watch anyway, and it'll be enjoyable. And you could actually watch my film with your girlfriend, for God's sakes, without being embarrassed. That's
easily, yeah.
It's made. Yeah. I made it for. I made it for women, in as much as I made it for men. But that's another story. I'm getting off. My point is.
No, you're not getting off. You're getting back on conversation.
Getting off topic. But here's the thing. Some sex doesn't have to be. If I say it to guys, if you're getting overexcited in sex, first of all, the first thing to do is to take the pressure off yourself by giving a woman cunnilingus, and that will make her happy for whatever happens next. And really, I mean, any kind of a half sensitive, half intelligent woman is going to be happy once you have gotten that done. Now, B, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end of sex either. You could have intercourse, and then you could go back to cunnilingus afterwards. There's all sorts of, or you could not.
But that's not how they do it in porn. You kissy kiss in porn, then you do oral, then you have to switch over to missionary quick, and then missionary switches to reverse cowgirl, and then reverse cowgirl goes to anal. And then once you finish anal, you can.
Then she gives you head again, and then you're done.
Yep. And then she like sits there for a minute on her knees, and she looks at you and says,
"Thank you." Yes. Okay. So
honestly, like this pattern though that we're talking about is also really important. Many people, regardless of how you identify or which genitalia you have, think that sex has to be within this very narrow pattern. And then when we start talking about changing that pattern, it's like, I can't tell you how many, I just want to have sex how we used to. I can't tell you how many times that I have heard that from my clients. I just want to have sex how we used to. It's like, but how you used to wasn't actually helping either of you. So you want to return to that? Or would you like to try something new?
Right. What do you think it is that makes people want to? It's interesting. You've seen that in therapy. What do you think it is that makes them want to return to what they had?
I think it has a lot to do with fear. I think we're pattern creatures, and we expect patterns to exist to absolve us of fear and ambiguity.
The devil
Yeah.
you know.
I agree. So patterns are we go back to patterns, and patterns are comforting in that way. I think that's a good theory. I think that
Even
makes
if
sense.
they're not helpful.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that is fascinating, I think that there may be another element that may be involved in too, and that one of some men's biggest fear about doing something that, like my method, is they say, well, wait, this is going to be rehearsed. This isn't going to be spontaneous anymore.
Oh my gosh, I hear that so all the
All
time.
right. And so what I tell them, and let me see if you tell them the same thing. I say to them, okay, so I use this analogy. So how do you think a great gunslinger gets to be a great gunslinger? You know, do you think he just kind of, pulls out that pistol and boom, 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 hits every bottle on the wall and spins the pistol back into his holster? No, it takes a shitload of practice to get that good.
And he licks the bottles first.
That's right. So wait. So yes. So I say to them, look, on the other side of this practice, it's a spontaneity so far beyond anything you've ever experienced in your life. So you get to be, how do you think, Rafa Nadal gets to do those shots between his legs on a tennis court? That's spontaneous energy. That's amazing.
Yes.
He's so practiced. He's so good at what he's doing that he can afford to hit these amazing shots. And guess what? You can too. So there is, on the other side of this, a change up that you can do and a freedom that you could do. Look, can I tell you? Okay, I'm going to. Okay, so this is something I've told a couple of men. Do you want to know what the best sexual experience I ever had in my life? And they're like, oh God, you got to have to, threesome, foursome, fivesome, and I go, no, actually, the best sexual experience I ever had in my life was sitting in a bed with this same girl in college after the first time I was able to last more than 5 minutes and having a beer with her.
Yeah.
And we just stopped. And and that beer that we had together in bed, sitting cross-legged across from each other, laughing and talking, that was the most memorable sexual experience of my life. And really partially, yes, I had this breakthrough, but there was this great, sense that we could take our time and that afterwards we could go back to having sex. It's not this goal-directed fast thing. And in fact, that way of having sex, for any intelligent man, if you're a heterosexual man in a relationship, that is going to give her more orgasms in the long run than anything you happen to do with your penis.
Absolutely.
Can I have an amen?
Absolutely. Preach it.
Hey man. Well, on that note, we are heading into overtime.
Oh, okay.
This has been an absolute.
We're going into religion now. Yeah, this has been great. We'll have to have you on again. And there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I'm almost done with my tea.
I'm going to get you a sponsorship with Natural Ice.
Yeah, Natty Ice. Back in the day.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So yeah, we'll have to have you on again, and I'm gonna find a way to. We'll get that video up.
I'm gonna need your help, and you're so kind, Brandon. Brandon is one of those people who he's a tech geek and he's a good writer. He's a creative person who Brandon, I gotta say, you're such an open, generous guy, and and you're so creative, and you're so curious, and you're so good, technically amazing. you're a triple threat, man. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for the help you have given me. Amazing help over the years.
Sure.
Thanks, man.
Thank
and great
you.
to meet you, Erika. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
And I feel really glad that I got 2 Brandons tonight.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
Well,
thanks everyone.
Thank you. And we'll see you guys maybe next Friday, maybe the Friday after that. We'll put up an announcement. Yeah.
Everybody have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.